L.O.G Jam, the official podcast of League of Gentlemen. I'm Tom Brier. This is Darren Adams.
Hey, good evening. Welcome back. Week 2 recaps are coming up. Week 3, little analysis may possibly moving forward. Really exciting tonight. We have a first interview that we're actually able to put through with our guest tonight, Billy McAllister.
2014 league champion, one of 2 undefeated teams this year. He's going to be stopping by the program later tonight. Really exciting show for you.
One thing we need to address, though, before we move forward is we've gotten a lot of hate mail, some emails, some text messages, some tweets about being very stat heavy, some different things. We want to address it right now in a segment we call Dropping the D.
The decimal point traces its root back to the 900s when Islamic scholar Muhammad L.O.G introduced the decimal point. In the West, it took till almost the 1500s when Flemish mathematician Simon Slevin brought it to current use. In the League of Gentlemen, rumors swirled about the decimal point as early as the 2013 season, which was officially introduced in 2016 and enacted to start the 2017, and thus began the era of the decimal point. On a positive note, the new rules virtually eliminated the tie from league play, but it's the negative unintended consequences that we're here to talk about. First of all, the decimal point has made Pod Center recaps virtually unlistenable. So bogged down in numbers that our fans reached out and said, you gotta change it. We heard terms from our fans like stats geeks, numerical masturbation, and drier than a popcorn fart. As a result, the L.O.G Jam podcast will no longer be using the decimal point. We'll be rounding up all scores and stats from this point forward. That's right, we're dropping the decimals. But that's not the only problem here. The real travesty in the League of Gentlemen is the record book. A book that we have held near and dear to this point has become virtually in disarray. How do you compare 2 eras such as these? Albert Pujols got to hit balls cradled in humidors, while Rogers Hornsby had to hit rocks that were made of tobacco spit and gunny sacks. Mark McGwire, he got to hit balls juiced up on steroids. There's just no way to compare. In an era that sees your mom's pimp almost crack the double century mark twice in 2 weeks. In an era where tackling QBs without smiling results in 15-yard drive-sustaining penalties. In an era where the all-time scoring records are at their most vulnerable, we must band together to get rid of the decimal point. So please join us at dropthed.org so we can get on the ballot for the league meeting this initiative to get rid of the decimal point and help us drop the D's out of our face. Hey, welcome to the Yule Log, our weekly fireside chat with members of the League of Gentlemen. Tonight's Yule Log brought to you by Molson Canadian Corona.
Tonight's interview is going to be with the Poway Titans owner, Billy McAllister. Now, Billy's a one-time trophy winner. He's been in the league. He's one of the founding members. He's been in the league every year. He's a pillar of this league. So we're really excited to get to talk with Billy tonight.
Absolutely. And now introducing one of the 2 undefeated teams in this year's league, Billy McAllister. Welcome in.
Thanks, guys. Happy to be here. Good to be in the house. It smells wonderful in here tonight. Thanks for having me. Tacos are delicious. Tom put out a great spread. Sorry, Ari, you ain't here, bud.
Billy, it is great to have you. Before we get to the interview that we had planned, we do have to address the reports on the news over the weekend that for the first time in League of Gentlemen history, a franchise has uprooted its league's offices during the season. Dominated the news reports on Saturday morning. We saw video footage coming out for the first time on Sunday, them lugging equipment up the stairs, a la the Indianapolis Colts in the early 80s, that overnight move. It is confirmed that you have moved the offices. What we don't know, the rumors that are out there, are you moving the stadium? Are you moving the team from Poway, California? We need an answer.
The corporate offices have been moved indeed, but the stadium's still intact. We love our hometown Powegians, as we call them here.
The
in
Poway,
the 619. Okay?
Absolutely.
The Powegian maniacs, as some will call them, the green and gray crazies,
Heard.
whatever you want to say. A lot of t-shirts out there on the street of Poway.
Perfect.
Garden Road is the hood.
But on the record, you're saying that the team is staying in Poway.
In Poway, yeah.
Enjoying the office. So how are you enjoying the league offices? Is everything
Great. We moved
comfortable?
the corporate offices to a flood-free zone.
Flood-free
Actually
up on stilts.
stilts. Yeah.
Perfect.
Corporate offices is on the second and third level in the southern Scottsdale area.
Southern
Just
Scottsdale.
south of the continental flood zone.
Oh.
I think you're familiar with that.
Yes, I am. But you know, it does beg the question: do the new offices have room for a boat?
No, but we do have a conglomerate from Denver
Oh, there it is.
who does have a new corporate office just about a quarter mile from your corporate offices.
Perfect.
Who has been invested in said Noah's Ark, as we
Okay.
refer to it, and yes, that could be a relocation of assets.
So, Billy, another question that we have for the Poway organization is, especially on this podcast, and I would like to personally apologize to you for berating the fact that you took so many charges, you continue to play so many charges. I've already admitted I'm wrong, but I would like to address that with you. What is your feeling on that? And moving forward, do you have a plan? I mean, obviously to stay with them. Are you thinking maybe moving components, or what are your thoughts on how well the Chargers have done for you and what your plan might be moving forward?
Chargers are a team that have a chip on their shoulder. They're in a horrible division with no defense. I do love Phillip Rivers. He is a 5,000-yard passer.
True.
They will live and die with him and Melvin Gordon as well. Keenan Allen is an integral part of that offense. So, yes, I'm not looking forward to Week 8 when my whole team has a bye week. Luckily, it's not against either of you. So that's very nice. We'll see. We will explore maybe some options to further our quarterback options.
Saying there might be some trades in there. Speaking of moves, we saw that over the weekend you did pick up Philip Lindsay. There was some waiver wire controversy, but it seems like a nice pickup. How do you feel about that?
Hometown kid from Denver, homegrown. The team loves him. The family loves him. That's how Denver rolls, and he is going to continue to surprise me and be a great pickup off the waiver. Maybe almost a la Marshawn Lynch when Ari dropped him back in the day. Other than Philip Lindsay wasn't dropped, he was just there for me to pick up as a beautiful young baby. But
Well, I would like to address the fact that Billy is 2-0 so far this year. He's one of the 2 undefeated teams in the league, which, it's early, but it still needs to be recognized that he's played his cards well so far. I would like to ask you, looking back at the draft, looking back at some of the things you might have done, letting Adam Thielen be traded. I mean, just different things that happened through the draft. Plenty happened. Where do you see your organization now? How did that draft night go for you? Are you happy with the way it turned out? What would you have done different? Just a quick thought from you.
Adam Thielen was a casualty of war, as you could say. Somebody was going to fall on the sword, and I had to go that way. Luckily, Aaron Rodgers wasn't hurt, so Devontae Adams is still a good pick for me.
Absolutely.
I wish I wouldn't have drafted Eli in number 18, but it really didn't hurt me that
18th
much.
round pick, I mean.
I could have reached out, maybe got Philip Lindsay or someone of that, caliber.
Give you possible keeper
right,
status.
right, as keeper status going forward.
But otherwise, you feel pretty good.
I really think I'm good with my schedule set up. I really think the Titans have a strong chance to return to the playoffs. I think I have the weakest schedule of the year so far, looking at things. We're 2-0, going against Cardinal Sin next week, and ready for the Titans to roll.
Well, I would agree with Billy. It's been a great start for his season all around, kind of the way you want to come out of the gates. But Billy, how do you see the rest of the league, and how do you, just your opinion of how you see things shaking out so far in the L.O.G?
I expect to see you two deep in the playoffs. The Zorros will be around to stink some things up. Ari might have a chance to come back around. I don't know what Le'Veon Bell's going to do, buddy. It's
Nobody does.
Yeah, he does.
Kind of.
Maybe. I expect the Titans to just sneak in with 7 wins, have a disastrous second half of the season, a la Oakland Raiders.
Can we get you on the record? The Titans have 7 wins at the end of the season. That's what
Yes.
you're saying.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
We all know it takes 7 wins to get in, guys, and sometimes 6. So Titans are on the board for 7 wins. I already got
I
2.
may bet the over there.
Humble.
All right. Well, one might say sandbagging, but
I love cats.
whatever you want to call it. He does love cats. That brings us to the rapid fire portion of the program. We're just going to ask you a series of questions. No right or wrong answers. We just like to see what you think.
All right.
Of all the members of the League of Gentlemen, which is the most likely to own multiple pairs of Crocs?
All right.
REKs.
Those are the REKs. Question number 2, and you got to be honest.
Yeah.
How many men's restrooms have you been in Hillcrest, California?
0.
Billy, you got to be honest.
Maybe 1.
Okay, maybe.
Over under's 3.5.
Over under's 3.5.
All right. Do Jewish vampires also avoid crosses?
I think so.
Maybe this is a question we should have waited and asked Ari.
Maybe. We'll try to see if we can log him on an interview a little bit later this year. All right. Well, Billy, thank you so
Thanks
much
for
joining us this weekend.
Good luck the rest of the year. Week 2 matchup in the League of Gentlemen. The Pooh Bag on Fire took on the Hebrew Hammers, last year's defending champions. The Hammers put up 148. It's a solid number. Of course, Alvin Kamara put up about 18 points. The real humdinger here for the Hammers was Travis Kelce. He finally got off. You know, you drafted him or took him early or kept him, whatever the case may be here, but definitely paid off this week with Patrick Mahomes going crazy. Brandon Cooks, another great play by Ari. He went off finally for the Rams. Again, a solid number. The Matt Breida play I thought was ballsy. I really did. I got to congratulate you, Ari. I thought that was ballsy. I mean, looking at your roster of running backs that are up and coming or might not play or what have you, I mean, I know you got to pick somebody there, whether it's Royce Freeman or what have you. But great play on Breida. That was a very good play.
I think Breida's a great pick. I think that Shanahan offense is going to be something that scores points. Is going to have a running back that scores. I'm invested in it in Alfred Morris, but Breida's the guy that gets the in space plays. He's going to be fantastic for him. On the flip side of the coin, the Pooh Bag on Fire. We talked about Odell Beckham Jr., Dalvin Cook laid an egg this week. Both under 10 points. Got some decent production from a couple of guys, 19s, 18s, 17s out of Allen Robinson, out of O.J. Howard on the bench. A couple of ideal scores, but really it was a matter of, are they going to get to 100 this week? You kind of finding them in a little bit lower tier. This was a laugher.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because when you have Odell Beckham, who can put up 11 catches for 111 yards. I mean, we were going to do stats, sorry, but against Jalen Ramsey, then comes out against the Oakland defense, which should be pass friendly, and just doesn't get any looks really. So Pooh Bag takes the loss here. He takes the L, 148 to 107.
Yeah, I mean, looking forward for Ari. 147 is a great score. It's going to win you a lot of weeks. I think he probably looking for a little more consistency out of quarterback play moving forward, and we'll see what happens. But
Yeah.
Good win for Ari here. And that brings us to Fury Zorros. The Furies get in the win column, knocking off the Zorros 148-88 in a kind of a stretch out win for them. Probably took seriously at the end of last week's podcast. We talked about the tiers in this league being 6 or 7 in the top, 2 to 3 in the bottom. Binner says, I don't want to be a bottom team.
No.
I'm a playoff contender.
Absolutely.
Almost puts the 150 mark and announces his presence with authority. You can't talk about Binner's game without talking about the quarterback position. We've been wearing out all week on the text thread about having drafted Ben Roethlisberger twice and turns around and drops him this week after he puts up a 75 burger. But how do you make fun of him when he's sitting there with Patrick Mahomes? 54 points in a weekend, just possibly the cross between Tom Brady and Jesus. I don't know exactly what's happened. It's a good win. Nuke comes out and does a big thing. I guess your biggest concern if you're Binner right now is that Joe Mixon injury. How long is he out? What's going to be happening in that offense? Deion Lewis struggles in New England in that roulette backfield. You just wonder where he's going to get consistent numbers. You can't count on 53 points every week, but all in all, a real statement win from Chris this week.
Yeah, and as far as from the Zorro's end, I think we're all still expecting him to break 100 at some point, but it's got to happen sooner than later because you just can't win games at 88 points. And no running backs, and I mean, no offense, Joel, but slowly with a guy like Aaron Rodgers, you're always in the game. He can put up 30 points, of course. He took the juice and drank the juice on Jared Cook, started him at tight end. Didn't overproduce for him this week with kind of maybe a different offense running there. But again, I think that the running back position for him is consistently letting him down. Antonio Brown, wasn't the most focal part of that offense for some reason. But 15 points or 16 points is still a pretty good number. There's just areas that aren't working for him. So I see the Zorros either trying to make some deals and including some picks because there's not a lot of value, but
could be a seller, could be a candidate to change his name to Diaper Bag on Fire, something along those lines. We'll see what happens from Joel for the rest
get
of
it
the year.
over 100, buddy. In another really great Week 2 matchup, the Cardinal Sin took on the Avalon Avengers. The Sin win this one 150 to 140. So really, a great game. Both teams put up really good numbers. As far as the winners here this week, the Sin had Andrew Luck, who had a pedestrian for a quarterback, 15 points. But he did finally get his breakout from Christian McCaffrey. He took him early in the draft, and he finally paid off really big numbers. I expect more of that from that offense with Cam not being able to go down the field and just kind of dump into Christian. So great job there. Really, this week started with A.J. Green just going bonkers. And I think the Sin jumping out to that big of a lead early felt pretty confident. Like, hey, I've got a guy with 3 touchdowns. I got a guy with 30 points on the board. That's the way you want to start a week. But as far as the week went, it was closer than that, and Tom came back. It just wasn't enough. But what happened?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, I think when we set out upon this venture of doing recaps each week, I don't think either of us considered how hard it is to evaluate your team after a weekend loss and get on camera. So I tried to talk us out of doing recaps this week at all. But really, facing that 30 points, he did to me what Julio did in week 1. But at no point did I feel out of it. We came out Sunday morning strong. I got some good points on the board. He was ahead, but that Steph Diggs second half felt fantastic. There was a couple points of I score, he scores, takes us into Sunday afternoon games, and I just fell flat at that point. I had TJ Yeldon going, a waiver wire pickup. Thought I'd get more than double digits, hoping for about a 15-16. George Kittle had a bunch of missed targets last week. I thought that was going to translate. That ends up with 4.2. I think he had that in the first quarter and then never scored again for the rest of the game. And that just put us in too big a hole. Zeke couldn't come back, and it was, got to take my hat off to Cardinal Sin. It's a nice win, a statement win again, like we talked about Bender saying I can come and perform in the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Puts up a 150 burger this week and gets himself to 1-1 and puts himself in good position.
All right, gentlemen, thanks for having me again tonight. I'm going to go ahead and do the recap of our Who's Your Daddy Poway Titans matchup for the week. Sponsored to you by Molson Canadian, Molson. I make this into water or pee, whatever you want to call it. So the final score this week was 147.5 to 113.5. In the world of Tom and Darren, I don't know if that means 147 or 113 or 148. I don't know what these guys round up or round down. I'm not really sure. All I know is that the San Diego Chargers were rolling and rolling and rolling. And that's how the Titans roll. San Diego proud, baby. Anybody want to trade Phillip Rivers for somebody? I don't know. You let me know. So it was out early for the Titans. We got out to a good start. It was pretty much a dismal day for Who's Your Daddy. The good thing is the Titans will have a soft schedule until about week 9. And that's when we face your mom's pimp. You guys all know him. He's your mom's pimp. And then after that, we have to face the Avalon Adventures, where all this shit takes place. Okay, I'm in the bunker right now. Anyway, next week, I got Cardinal Sin. I'm coming at you. And next week, it is a cornucopia of DNA or some kind of Oedipus thing. I'm not really sure. But Who's Your Daddy faces Young and Confused. That's going to get so weird. Gentlemen, thank you. Have a great evening.
And that brings us to this week's big matchup, the Pimp and Young and Confused. Pimp ups up another big number, gets to 198. He was thinking he was going to be in 200 again, but he got close. And really a valiant effort. The number 2 points of the week. Young and Confused gets to 169. Wasn't ever really close, but you got to say it's two of the best teams in the league right now. Darren, how do you feel about the week?
Well, when you put up 169, I didn't mean to sell you short. That's a huge number. I would expect to win any week. So I'm happy that I was able to, go above that this week and just get the win. Because especially early on in the season, facing a team like Young and Confused, that early season win is just put in the bank. So I was really, this is a game I'll look back on at some point. Hopefully, if I get into the playoffs, is this was an important week for me to win against a really good team. He has Tyreek Hill, he has Kareem Hunt, he has Deshaun Watson, he has so many weapons that can score at you, and they all did this week. They all did well. Nobody really went crazy and went off, but I would say every one of them hit well over their projection.
Looks like the kind of scores you see from a team that is not only going to make the playoffs, but they're going to vie for a bye by the end of the week.
I would agree.
He's got 15, 16, 17 from everybody. He's got a couple guys in the 30s, high 20s. He even has Will Fuller on the bench with 28. He looks like a team that's
Wouldn't have helped him. But
definitely here to compete. Yeah, great game for Young, but Pimp continues to be the story. I think we talked last week about maybe having 6 good teams. I think we've moved into an area where you can say we have one team in the top tier with the Pimps, and then probably 7 teams vying for the other 5 playoff spots. And then unfortunately right now it looks like 2 teams that are going to be making plans for next year.
Yeah, neither named Fury, which
is a big change from what we thought we'd see this week for sure. As far as the Pimp, ballsy move, getting Ben Roethlisberger off the waiver wire, putting him in the starting lineup. Cam Newton and Tom Brady both facing tough matchups, but either guy supposedly plug-and-play guys, and it's a really ballsy move, pays off to the tune of 51 points. Really, Jordan Howard, the only guy that doesn't really show up. Gronk with a 3.5. Your kicker doesn't play at all and gets a 0, and we're still looking at 198. It's just unbelievable day. The Rams are a monster. Adam Thielen, all the late catches. Todd Gurley's a beast. I don't think there's anything you can say that hasn't been said about the Pimps. I mean, it's just going to be a good year.
Well, I hope so. We look forward to playing Ari next week, so I'm looking forward to that matchup. That's one that you want to win. You want to beat the commish. You want shit talking rights. So
you do want shit talking rights, and you do want to make sure you kind of get that cat pee smell out of the uniform when you get back home.
I think that might become shot of the week right there, Ari. And we can probably do your cat segment too at the same time.
That's it. All right. Well, that ends week 2. Standings are going to show up on the board tomorrow. 2 2-0 teams, 2 0-0 teams, and then everybody else locked in that 1-1 position.
Logjam,
literally logjam. Happens like that every year. There's a lot of parity in this league.
It's not even our draft board, motherfuckers. It's not even our draft board. This is bullshit.
Thanks for tuning in.
Props, thanks for tuning in.
Stop. The decimal point dates back to circa 950 when Muhammad scholar Al-Madini. The decimal point dates back to Islamic scholar Al-Ugladisi in the 1500s. I already fucked it up.